from the beginning, let's just talk about how it's affected you. Because I mean, I've seen a lot of change in you. Even when I first met you, I feel like you've always been especially kind when I've seen you, but you do have a persona where you've got to be like cool radio guy, but you've been a lot more open just about what you're really facing and what reality is actually like, and why did that happen for you?
I would say like if I ever gave off the persona of a cool radio guy, then I definitely duped you, and I very much appreciate you falling victim to my wiles.
Gotcha.
Um, but I don't know. It's like I've been on this path towards I want to say authenticity for like the last 3 years or so, maybe 2 years, but it really didn't get ramped up until recently. And just, I find the more vulnerable that I am and the more authentic I am, the more I'm attracting the right people to my life. And more importantly, keeping the wrong people out of my life. I think I suffer from imposter syndrome. It's what a therapist told me once anyway, but she wasn't a great therapist, but she might have been right on this one. Um, it's basically you're not confident enough to be yourself. So you feel like you have to play a role for the people around you. You have to be someone that you're not to get them to like you. And when you do that, invariably you're going to attract the wrong people. You know what I mean? Like, you know what it's like. And so if you want to stop having the wrong people affect you in a negative way and put you in situations that you don't want to be in, you can either keep doing the same thing over and over again, which I'm pretty sure is the definition of insanity, or you can finally decide that you want to change and you actually like yourself enough to want to be yourself and keep the wrong people away from you and the right people near you. So that was a very long answer, I realize. Time-wise, I would say it feels like the last year it's ramped up on an accelerated fashion.
Well, I like that you said that line. I think, didn't Albert Einstein say that? Don't quote me.
I believe so. No, I wanted to say that, but I also hate being wrong, so I didn't want to be wrong.
Right? Just to misquote and record it. But it's funny that some things do take us over and over to learn this same lessons, where at our core, we know that the same actions are going to lead to the same negative outcome, but for whatever reason, we got to prove ourselves wrong again. And it's a cycle. But I think just like when you want something bad enough, you'll do it. I think when you're ready to finally get the lesson, you'll learn it. Do you remember that pivotal moment where you were just like, this is not me, I'm not authentic? And today I really, because I don't know if you've done this, but you say you want to make a change, you go to bed probably 30 plus times and say, tomorrow's the day. But then one morning it actually is different.
Yeah, there were a couple of events that happened in my life that really pushed me towards that way. And they all stemmed around not liking myself enough to feel like I deserved happiness, and really always finding the people in my life who I would have to either take care of or compare myself to and feel okay because they were a little off or a lot off. And then, man, I got into what I thought was the perfect relationship, met her in the right way, friends of friends, they vouched for her. And we started hanging out, and it was like that ultimate scenario of someone who's your friend, yet you get to do sex stuff with and is also fun. I don't know how graphic you want me to get. If that was too graphic, you let me know.
Sex stuff I think is okay.
Okay, because I, tried not to make any hand motions or anything like that, but some sex stuff, right? Meh, meh. I found girls love that. Just tune in Tokyo, just, meh, meh, making that noise. So that's guys out there watching this. That is how you get them.
My friend.
So long story short, she got arrested at my house after a nightmare of a breakup. The breakup just wouldn't take, like, she just wouldn't listen to, hey, I have no animosity. I hope you can live your life great, and I'm going to live my life. But so long story short, too late. She got arrested at my house. I had to go get a restraining order. And then the relationship I got into right after that, it's been so long since we've seen each other. I hate that we haven't talked about this away from microphones and stuff. But I started dating a 25-year-old girl who was also a fetish internet type person. I know I was making really good decisions, Haley. I'm really proud of myself. And surprisingly, that ended horribly also with a light touch of stalking. I couldn't believe it.
Oh,
Um, I know. And
like,
so when that happened, I was like, I had to finally have my day of reckoning with myself and go, why are you doing this? Like, you could have known that these things were going to go this way. And instead of cutting and running, you kept yourself in this. So why? What is it that you think that you deserve this drama for? Why can't you just be more introspective and look at who you are and what you want out of life and not accept anything less? And so I started to do that, I guess, about midway through last year, maybe a little after. And then I met a really nice lady in December. And I remember I had a moment where I started to do what I always do when I meet someone who's really, really super nice. And I think it's what a lot of girls do too, is you find things wrong with them because you figure they're so nice. I don't deserve that. Like I can't have that because they like me too much and they're too nice to me and they seem
right.
too easy and congenial to get along with. And it took, a couple of friends, specifically my friend John, also calling me out on it and saying, hey man, listen, you deserve this. Like, this is someone who's healthy, who's good for you. And I finally, I was like, you know what, shit, I'm gonna give that a try. I'm gonna see if that actually is true. And so since then, yeah, it's pretty true. And it just, it coincides with my need to feel like I'm understood and I can be vulnerable and I can be authentic and it's not going to be the end of the world. Someone might actually like me for me. Go figure.
I do have a question for you. One thing that 2020 has brought, unfortunately, has been a lot of loss in more than one ways, but also for the first time, people were faced to answer the question, who am I without a job title? And as I'm so happy to see that you're making these new relationships in your life that feel authentic to you, if that were to go away, do you feel like you've grown into the man you want to be, that you don't need that validation from a partner?
Well, that's a great question. And yeah, I do. I mean, I hope it doesn't, don't get me wrong, but I finally feel like I'm comfortable in my own skin. I know who I am and I'm figuring all of this out. My son's 17, so I'm really on the precipice of gaining a different identity than I've known for the last 17 years of my life. And it couldn't come at a better time because I'm not lost. I'm not saying I'm found, but I'm not spiritually lost or emotionally lost. And I feel like I'm ready for the next however many years I get to steal on this planet after that happens.
I actually find it fun to continue learning. I don't think we're supposed to get to the point, not to get all LA hippie, but in this form of life right now, I don't think we're supposed to know every bit about ourselves, because what is the point of living if we don't get new experiences with each day?
There are people who see the world that way, and that's, in my opinion, the way we're supposed to see the world. And then there are so many people who just, for whatever reason, are satisfied being stagnant and I don't want to say mediocre because that sounds judgy, but just not changing. Just like, this is the way I am, screw it. And to a certain degree, I think we all do that. Like, we feel like we can't shake parts of our DNA, and that's perfectly fine. But like, always challenge yourself to do better, to be more grounded. Like, I've been meditating for like the last 2 or 3 months, like every morning and every night before I go to sleep, I'll put on YouTube and find a guided meditation. And some of them are great and some of them are cheesy and some are both. And I just love what it can do to your mind. You know what I mean? Like, to take those moments when you wake up and express freaking gratitude, and then before you go to bed, shutting your brain off. Like, who would that ever hurt? The world would be a lot better place, I think, if more people did that.
If truly, I find myself like almost a different person when I just take a pause sometimes, and I'm still working on that every day, where I look back and I'm like, why did I send that text? If I just took like 2 more minutes to think about it, I could have reacted differently. This wouldn't be a fight now. And I need those lessons because they remind me to hopefully take them moving forward. But I think that's huge. And unfortunately, I don't know if it's people are satisfied with staying stagnant. I think it's safe. And I think the fear of the unknown is way scarier to people than the boredom and complacency of just never moving. To me, that sounds like hell. And I'm such a quote girl, and you can make fun of me for this, but one of my favorite quotes is that, let me read it on my vision board. I can't believe I'm this typical.
Wow.
Someone once told me the definition of hell: the last day you have on earth, the person you meet will be the person you could have become.
Ooh.
That scares me more than failure, to somehow have to face. Oh, I get chills every time. I'm so dumb. But if you have to face at the end the person who you could have been, who you were meant to be, but you didn't do it because you were scared, that is terrifying.
It is, but look how far ahead of the game that you are at your age. I mean, you're 19 years old and you've already
I feel 19 sometimes, but the other night I forgot how old I was, and I'm only 27, but I'm pretty sure that's still too young to forget your age. And I was just like, am I 28? For a solid minute, I thought I was 28.
Well, look, at that age, to have figured out before 30 what you just said, life is way too short to freaking waste time wishing you were someone else and not becoming that person. And, you know, my mom and dad are still around, and I feel so grateful for that. But they're from a generation where, like, self-exploration and self-help and all that wasn't really done all that much. So they've been pretty much the same version of themselves their entire life. My dad's mellowed out a lot, but I attribute that to him being in his 70s and hopefully finding medical cannabis, but he unfortunately has not. No matter how much I pressure him to do so. So, like, you know, I didn't start to come to these realizations till late 40s, 50 of how important all this stuff is. And you're so far ahead of the game to even know about taking those extra few seconds before you send that text, because I'll still do it to this day. We have that thing in us that gives us this fake urgency. You've got to respond to this right now. Someone made me feel this way, so I better respond to this right now. It's one of the worst things you can do. And what I'm really trying to learn is that absorption, giving yourself that time to go, okay, this made me react. This is why I might be feeling that way. And more importantly, this is how my response is going to come off if I respond right now. And then taking those moments to cool off.
That could not have been more accurate for me. And just, you know, I'm asking other people to be honest, so I'll be honest about myself. For the first time I did seek out, it's light, nothing crazy, but a prescription for anxiety, because I found myself giving myself horrific stomach aches every day because I wasn't breathing. I was so tight. I was so fast. Like, even if I had nowhere to rush to, I'm rushing, I'm on the go. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, I'm a go-getter, but I'm like, I'm rushing life by and I'm going to miss it. So I have to slow myself down. And I did start dabbling in weed more, and I started reading, which my mom would be so proud because she always wanted me to read. And finally I enjoy it, but I'm just looking at life a lot differently. And it is a very fragile thing. And I think this year has been a shithole for so many people. And I don't think one person has been unscathed in some way or another, but you can't deny the lessons. Like, I don't know, because I'm thankful to be working now, but there was a point where I wasn't, and I still caught myself stressing every day. And Drew, the stuff I was stressing about was all self-imposed. I was like, I gotta do yoga, I gotta read, I gotta, like, you what? Like, I'm writing the most ridiculous things that are supposed to make myself feel better, but leave it to me to make it a demand, to make it something to stress about. So it took this moment to realize that, wow, even in the midst of nothing going on, I can create stress. So I don't know if I would have seen that if I wasn't in this position.
Yeah, it's hard to find silver linings with where we are right now, whether it's economically, sociologically, socially, etc. But, like, what it's done is force everybody to just put the brakes on and stop distracting ourselves with everything from marketing meetings and activities and networking and all this stuff. Now we just have to go, okay. And I'm sure it's torn the shit out of some marriages out there, if I may be so bold as to say that. You can believe me if you need to. But
probably good in the end, right?
I would say so. And, like, out of the dark ages came the Renaissance, I believe, if my history is correct. And I think after all this, if we all make it through, praise Jeebus or Moses or Muhammad or whoever's up there, if we do, then I think there's this newfound appreciation for everything we took for granted. And good for you for slowing your mind down a little bit. And I think obviously a medical doctor could tell you better, but a nice indica, I think, would really get you to just slam on the brakes and go, I'm stressing out because I'm planning a stress releasing activity, which I'm then going to do double because I'm stressing out about the stress release.
That was the irony. And then to plan so much that by the time I get to what I planned for, I'm not even present because I'm already planning for the next thing. It just all kind of hit me in the face where I was like, you're ridiculous. What are you doing? And I think with what you're saying, your parents didn't really grow up in an era where it was looked at in a positive way to focus on yourself, because I think most of us were raised to think that was selfish. But then when you connect the dots that you being your best self, and so cliche, but putting on that life jacket first, or whatever the expression is, you're better for the people around you, and then you make everything better because you're bringing your best self. Like, it's not selfish, it's really self-care. And we know the line when we're being selfish, like you can tell, like, okay, I'm being an asshole right now, like I can share, there's a difference. But I'm not perfect by any means as far as slowing down. I still have days where I'm stressed for no reason, but I don't get mad at myself anymore about it. I'm just like, this is where you're at today, and it's okay. And that's why I wanted to do things like this, because people are killing each other because they just can't have conversations. And I get so sad to think about how many deaths could be prevented if someone somewhere would have just listened to someone along the way.
Oh man, you are speaking my language. That the live stream suicide that the veteran, 33 years old, over the weekend streamed on Facebook. He did it because he had a message that he wanted to send, and that was check in on someone. There's someone who needs to hear that they're loved and needs to hear that they're worth something. And the the impact emotionally of what's happened this year has caused so many people to just fray and really feel the desperation of it all. And unfortunately, that's coincided with social and racial upheaval, as well as political uncertainty, and probably the most divisive environment in which we've ever found ourselves. So you really have to be committed to fight your way through this muck. And we have an obligation to ourselves, like you said, to take care of ourselves. But I feel a greater obligation to kind of help the people around me in whatever way I can. I think part of that is because my charity opportunities, unfortunately, have been taken away because of you can't go give a kid a hospital an iPad if you can't go to a hospital.
Yeah.
So, I feel like I have to do more kind of around me a little bit for the people who might need it.
And as a host, do you feel, because you do focus on serious things, but a lot of times people tune into you for entertainment and an escape. Did you find it kind of hard finding that balance of how can I still make this lighthearted while we're in the midst of things that are so serious and we have to touch on this, but you're going to get backlash, you always do. And how did you navigate that?
If you stumbled on the part of my job, the only part really that's difficult, and that is reading the temperature of what people need from you and balancing that with what you feel like you have to say when it comes to social issues that you feel passionately about. We never lose track of the fact that people want to be entertained. They always want to hear something that's going to entertain them. At the same time, you do have an obligation to give them the big news of the day, while doing so, understanding that if you express an opinion this way, you're going to alienate 40% of your audience, or this way, and you alienate another 38% or whatever. And then, kind of tempering that with what my personal mission is to just communicate out there to people who need to know that they're part of something, to make people feel, at least for a moment, like they are connected to something. Because there are people out there, I think, untethered, lost in space somewhere, feeling like they're alone. But if every day they can, between 2 and 6, turn on the radio and hear a guy who's searching for a purpose for all of this too, maybe they'll feel a little less alone. So you combine that with some good dick and fart jokes, and I think you really found the secret sauce.
And I do want to just point out that I find that even though you're getting to this point where you are loving yourself and you feel like you're you, you still have to preface with, you know, you kind of make it seem like anyone could do your job, but that's not true. You just what you said, that statement about why you want people to listen, not because you want to be a fame whore or make it all about you. You have a purpose, and I just want to take that second to make sure you know that it's not the easiest thing in the world. Not everyone can sit in that chair and do what you do.
Thank you. Yeah, they probably could, but I don't know if anybody could keep it going for as long, like 4 hours a day. That's a long time to talk to
A
people.
long time.
But like my first job in radio, the first show that I got, they gave me midnight to 6, Sunday through Thursday, and it was all talk, no music. So for 6 hours a night, I had to figure out how the hell to do this job. And that was like 95, 96 maybe. And it gets easier and easier, but you challenge yourself to make it harder and harder by finding that perfect balance of, you're never going to be everything to everyone, but if you can be just enough to enough people, then you'll carve out a little niche.
Oh, I love that. And my job in radio is just how many different ways can I sound excited for the same Justin Bieber song? How can
That's a skill. I couldn't do it.
That one is hard. I'm going to give myself that one. I know you have to go soon, so I just want to ask you quickly, is there any type of resource that's helped you a lot as far as podcasts or books that really did make an impact that you want to share?
Yeah, definitely. And I'm really glad you asked. You've asked some phenomenal questions. I'm not just saying that because I'm crazy about you, but you've asked some really phenomenal questions. And that's
I'll make a career out of this in LA one day.
Dude, I'm telling you, you should be a multi-billionaire by now. But and I'll get to say I know you when. Yeah, there are some people that I've paid attention to and gotten stuff out of, and I thoroughly recommend the book The Four Agreements if you haven't read it. It's I won't give them all away, but there's be impeccable with your word, which is just say what you mean to mean what you say always. And the biggest one for me was take nothing personally. And it's the hardest thing for me to do because I take everything personally. But so learning to take nothing personally is really difficult. But if you can manage that, then you take away a lot of what you and I talked about earlier about that impulse, that reaction to, let them know how you feel right away and then regret it later. Where if you can just absorb and go, okay, this person did not mean this personally. I'm not going to take this personally. And even if they did mean it personally, I have the power not to take it that way. That was a phenomenal resource. The book, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. I don't know if you've read that or not.
Sure, that's on my list.
That is probably the most life-changing book that I've ever read with how to approach life. And we spend so much time dwelling on a past that has no relevance whatsoever and worrying about a future that isn't guaranteed to us, that we miss out on the now. And the now is literally all we have. And what I picked up from that, another thing besides being present, is we are not that first impulse that comes to our head. We are the voice that tells us that it's a bad idea to say that. You know what I mean? Like, we can't help those impulses. They're gonna pop into our heads. That person cut me off in traffic. I'm gonna flip them off. We're that voice that goes, what's that gonna get you? How is that gonna help us get from point A to point B with no drama and nothing that can harm me? So that part of it. And then I want you to check out Dr. Joe Dispenza. And what he does with the way the mind works. And he does a guided meditation that I'll listen to every once in a while. I don't think that's his strong suit, but he's got some really motivational stuff about the brain and about how we deal with it. And I would recommend all of those, especially while you have some time to do some personal self-enrichment.
Isn't that cool when you do catch yourself in a moment where old Drew would have done this and you're like, wow, it's working. Like I love the idea too that thoughts really are thoughts. Choose another one. You don't have to act on every thought you have, because I think, speak for all of us, we would be psychos if we really were to think on every thought that comes to your mind.
Good Lord, yes.
But as a radio host, really quick, how did I assume that you were one of those guys that never really would take things personal because you have a tough crowd with the bone. So that must have been pretty challenging to not get your feelings hurt every day. I've
It
done my
is.
show a couple times and I got my feelings hurt.
Yeah, it's it's funny when people will text me where they get their feelings hurt for me, and I'm like, I feel bad for them. I'm past the point where like if I don't know you now, your opinion's really not going to carry that much weight because who the hell are you to me that I should put stock in what you say? People know my sensitive spots. I'm really proud of being a dad, so take shots at me there. It just at this point makes me feel worse for the person that
Right.
they listen to a show that gets them to that point where they want to lash out and hurt me because of the things that I say. So, I've learned to not take things personally just by not taking them personally anymore. People have said the most foul stuff. And a guy who wished my son wished that I would hold my dying son in my arms as he died of cancer. That guy ended up getting cancer of his tongue and getting half of it cut out. So if you need proof that there may indeed be mystical forces in this world that will punish you for having evil and venomous thoughts, you need look no further than half-tongue Chris.
I don't know how you didn't jump through the microphone and deck him. That's
Mm,
disgusting.
yeah, it's crazy. People say foul stuff, Haley.
But you're right that you got to a place where you know who you want in your life, and those are the people that are going to enrich your life. And why give power to anyone that doesn't want what's best for you?
You are sure right there. If you ain't feeding or wanting me, then I'm not putting a lot of stock in your opinion. You know what you did with your hands there.
Yes. Well, speaking of your son, you said you had to go pick him up, so I won't keep you. But I love you. Thank you for doing this. I know I shouldn't be surprised because you're a host, but we always have the best conversations, and I'm excited to show people, and hopefully we can help someone else out there.
Yeah, I hope so. And I miss doing these in person. So please don't be a stranger. And next time you get back here, let's see each other again. I'm crazy about you too. Thank you.